During a live stream, Jungkook suddenly lashes out at Taehyung, leaving fans in utter shock. What triggered the breakdown no one saw coming? Don't lie to me on camera, Taehyung. The room fell silent, not just in the studio but across millions of screens lit up around the world. Jungkook's voice wasn't raised, but it sliced through the ambient laughter like a blade through silk. The light-hearted banter that had defined the live broadcast just seconds earlier evaporated. Taehyung blinked, stunned, as if the words hadn't registered. Behind them, the staff froze. The camera kept rolling. Jungkook's jaw was tight. His fingers, normally loose and animated when he talked, were curled slightly, knuckles pale against the black of his hoodie sleeve. His chest rose and fell too fast. Too visible? A sheen of sweat above his brow betrayed the storm roiling beneath his carefully sculpted calm. Taehyung turned to face him, slow, deliberate. His mouth opened, then closed. "We're still live," he said, voice low. "I know." Jungkook's gaze didn't waver. Maybe that's the only way the truth gets out. The chat section exploded, emojis and disbelief piling up like static snow. The word fight trended in real time. But the two idols stood like statues in a battlefield of unspoken history, fragile egos, and buried secrets. Taehyung stood from the couch, the playful glint in his eyes long gone. "So this is what you want? To humiliate me in front of army?" A twitch in Jungkook's jaw. A silent reply. Then, the screen flickered. A technical glitch or divine intervention. Either way, the broadcast cut. Darkness. But it was too late. The moment had been seared into fandom memory, immortalized in screen recordings, dissected in fan threads before the staff even regained control. Backstage, the silence was louder than the roar of millions. Taehyung's voice came first, flat, cold. "I trusted you." "You shouldn't have," Jungkook replied. Not with malice, just certainty. The door slammed. And just like that, a friendship idolized for over a decade cracked wide open. The hours that followed were a fever dream. The managers scrambled to release a statement, just a misunderstanding between brothers. The company's social media accounts went dark. Reporters camped outside HYBE headquarters. But those closest to the duo knew the broadcast hadn't been a slip. It was a rupture. A long-buried fault line finally giving way. Jungkook didn't go home that night. Not to the dorms, not to his apartment. He drove. Past the city lights, past the noise, into the darkened countryside where silence stretched like an ocean. He parked near a forgotten cliff road they used to drive together in their trainee days, and stared at the empty passenger seat. His hands trembled as he lit a cigarette, his fourth, maybe fifth each drag, doing nothing to calm the roaring inside. Why did he say it? Why then? But the truth was, the live stream had only cracked the surface of something he'd buried deep. Years of late-night rehearsals turned cold, apologies never said, eyes that met but didn't see anymore. And above all, that one night in Osaka, the night that changed everything. But no one spoke about Osaka. Not even Taehyung. Taehyung, meanwhile, sat alone in the practice room, back against the wall, scrolling through the replay footage. Click, pause, rewind. Jungkook's face familiar and yet foreign. The betrayal in his eyes wasn't new, just unveiled. Taehyung whispered to the silence, "You said you forgave me." He laughed bitterly, eyes glassy. "You liar." They hadn't spoken in 3 days. And the silence stretched like a chasm, each hour widening the gap. Meanwhile, fans flooded social media with theories. Some thought it was staged. Some believed it was the beginning of a disbandment arc. A few, the ones who noticed things most didn't, pointed to the photos from Osaka in 2019. The way Taehyung had vanished for a week after. The fact that neither of them ever addressed it. The matching bracelets they stopped wearing after that trip. But those were just pieces. No one had the full picture. Not yet. By the 4th day, the company demanded reconciliation. "Stage a live apology," said the PR head. "Laugh it off. Say you were tired, emotional. Say anything. Just clean it up." Jungkook stared at the conference table, unmoving. Taehyung, beside him, spoke first. "You want us to lie again?" The room froze. "Not lie," the PR rep stammered. "Just smooth the edges." "Do you want ratings or healing?" Taehyung asked. Voice calm, deadly calm. Jungkook stood, chair scraping back sharply. "I won't lie. Not again." And he left. This time, Taehyung followed. Outside, on the rooftop overlooking Seoul, Jungkook lit another cigarette. "You never told them," he murmured without turning around. "Would it have changed anything?" Taehyung's voice was softer now. No cameras, no fans, just two boys beneath a city that never slept. It might have helped me sleep, Jungkook said. Back then, I thought protecting you meant staying silent. You thought wrong. The wind tugged at their hair, cold and biting. Jungkook turned, and for the first time in years, Taehyung saw his pain unfiltered, raw. A boy lost beneath the weight of golden expectations. I loved you, Jungkook whispered. I know. Their eyes met, and for the first time, neither looked away. I shouldn't have opened that door. Jungkook's voice, barely a whisper, echoed against the walls of the hotel suite. Time hadn't dulled the memory, if anything. It had carved it deeper into him, like salt in an open wound. The neon lights of Osaka still flickered behind his eyelids when he closed them, flashing red, white, and gilt. It was raining that night. The type of rain that doesn't fall at lashes, angry, impatient. A thunderstorm that matched the mood inside room 1509, where Taehyung had locked himself away after the after-party, where the rest of BTS was scattered in their respective rooms, too drunk or too exhausted to care. Except Jungkook. He remembered knocking once. Twice. Then silence. Young, it's me, open the door. No response. He tried again, louder, then banged. His voice rose in frustration, or was it fear? He didn't know what he was expecting when the door finally creaked open. But it wasn't that. Taehyung stood barefoot, shirtless, drenched from the storm, a bottle of soju in one hand and eyes like glass broken, dangerous, and unreadable. Why are you here? Taehyung had asked, slurring the edges of his words but sharp in tone. I was worried. You always are. Jungkook stepped inside anyway, letting the door swing shut behind him. The hotel room was trashed, clothes everywhere, an ashtray on the floor, still smoldering. And on the table his own name, written in black ink over and over again on a napkin. What is this? Don't read it. Taehyung reached for it, stumbling, but Jungkook was faster. His eyes scanned the scribbled mess. You're not mine. You're not mine. You're not mine. Jungkook looked up. What does this mean? Taehyung didn't answer with words. He stepped closer, hand reaching out to grab the napkin back, but instead his fingers brushed against Jungkook's wrist. The touch lingered. Too long, too intimate. Hyung, Jungkook started. Do you ever think about it? Taehyung interrupted, his voice rough, eyes searching Jungkook's face like a question with no right answer. What it would be like if we weren't who we are. Jungkook didn't move. Forget the company, the cameras, the fans, just us. Would it be different? Stop. Jungkook's throat felt dry. You're drunk. You don't know what you're saying. I'm always drunk around you, Taehyung said, laughing bitterly. But not on alcohol. There was a pause, a heartbeat, and then he kissed him. It was clumsy, desperate, a cry for something neither of them dared name, and for a single breathless moment, Jungkook didn't pull away. He kissed him back. Then everything shattered. Jungkook jerked away as if burned. No, we can't. Taehyung's eyes widened, hurt flickering across his face faster than a lightning strike. Why? Because I won't survive it. The words came out before Jungkook could stop them. I already give everything to this group. I give myself to the fans, to the label. If I give myself to you too, what's left of me? Taehyung stared at him, lips parted, breathing heavy. I would never ask for all of you, he whispered. But I'd give it to you, Jungkook said. That's the problem. A long silence stretched between them. Then Taehyung turned away. Get out. Jungkook hesitated. Get out before I hate you. So he did. And they never spoke of it again. Not during the next tour. Not during album promotions. Not during birthdays, award shows, or the sleepless nights they shared in silence. It became a buried thing, untouched, but never forgotten. Until the live broadcast. Until the crack. Until now. Present-day Seoul. You remember everything, Taehyung said, standing on the same rooftop where Jungkook had confessed just days earlier. The city sprawled out beneath them like a sleeping dragon, unaware of the storm brewing above. How could I forget? Jungkook answered, voice barely audible over the wind. Taehyung chuckled, but there was no humor in it. You never told anyone, did you? No. Not even Jimin? Jungkook shook his head. I did, Taehyung said softly. Eventually. Jungkook looked at him sharply. What? 2 years later, I broke down during tour in Berlin, told him everything. he cried. The image made Jungkook flinch. Why him? Because I couldn't carry it alone anymore. And because he loves you too. Just differently. Silence again. Why now? Taehyung asked suddenly. Why did you snap on the live? Why now, after all this time? Jungkook turned to face him. Because I saw you with her. Taehyung's breath caught. You weren't hiding it well, Jungkook continued. The girl in Tokyo, the holding hands, the shared coat. I saw the pictures, the way you smiled. She's no one, Taehyung said quickly. It's not serious. You never smiled at me like that, Jungkook said. Taehyung's voice cracked. You never let me. The pain between them was no longer subtle. It was raw, bleeding through every word. We are trapped in something neither of us can escape, Taehyung said, taking a step closer. But I'm tired of pretending I don't still feel everything when you walk into a room. Don't say that, Jungkook whispered. Why not? Because I'll believe you, and it'll destroy me. Taehyung reached up, fingers brushing Jungkook's face reverent, trembling. Maybe we need to be destroyed, he said, so we can build something real. Jungkook closed his eyes. And this time, when Taehyung kissed him, he didn't pull away. The next day, BTS's group chat exploded. Namjoon, what the hell is going on with you two? Jimin, are you okay? Please say something. Yoongi, the press is calling it a PR stunt. They think it's a teaser for a solo subunit. J-Hope, are you guys in love or in a lawsuit? Jungkook turned off his phone. He didn't have answers. Not yet. But for the first time in years, he didn't feel hollow. And he wasn't hiding. Not anymore. The footage wasn't supposed to exist. Not anymore. Not after the internal cleanup, the server wipe, the NDAs, the threats. And yet there it was. A 46-second clip. Grainy but unmistakable. Taehyung's hotel room in Osaka. The argument. The kiss. And Jungkook pulling away, visibly shaking. His voice. I won't survive this. Uploaded at 3:17 a.m. to a tiny fan account with less than 300 followers. No tags, no caption. Just a video titled, What They Hid From You. Within 10 minutes it had over 5 million views. Within an hour, the world was burning. I'm going to kill whoever leaked this. Namjoon's voice was ice over the phone, low and taut, the way it always got when the situation passed DEFCON 1. Jungkook didn't respond. He was sitting on the edge of his bathtub, fully clothed, water still running, steam curling around his shoulders like fog. His phone screen showed a dozen notifications from Hybe, his lawyer, his mother. But he only stared at the frozen frame on Twitter. His face. Taehyung's mouth still on his. God. He wanted to vomit. Or scream. Or rewind the entire world 5 years and take the goddamn stairs instead of knocking on that hotel door. Do you understand what this means? Namjoon's voice cracked through again, this time louder. The company can't cover this. This isn't a rumor. This isn't dispatch. This is real. And it looks like a betrayal, like a cover-up, like we've all been lying. We have been, Jungkook said, voice hollow. A pause. Then Namjoon's voice softened, just a fraction. Do you want me to come over? Jungkook blinked. No. Are you alone? I don't know. He hung up. Taehyung watched the clip on repeat, his expression unreadable. The walls of his apartment were covered in charcoal drawings, some beautiful, some chaotic. He'd been painting again recently. Dark things, things that looked like torn pieces of his insides. Now, watching his past self kiss Jungkook like the world was about to end, he felt nothing and everything all at once. He didn't cry. He didn't rage. He whispered, "So this is how it ends." A knock came at the door. Taehyung didn't answer. Another knock. Then the door burst open. Jimin. Panting. Eyes red from either tears or lack of sleep. Probably both. "Tell me you didn't leak it," he said, not bothering with hellos. "I didn't." "Then who did?" Taehyung turned to him finally, slowly. That room had one surveillance camera. Internal. Hybe placed it. For security. Only 3 people had access to that footage. You want to guess who? Jimin's jaw clenched. Management? Taehyung nodded. And someone else. Who? Taehyung looked away. Who, Taehyung? Silence. Tell me you didn't give it to her, Jimin whispered, horrified. Taehyung didn't need to answer. The look in his eyes said enough. Taehyung. Jimin's voice cracked. She said she deleted it, Taehyung snapped. It was years ago, okay? I didn't know she. Do you realize what you've done? I trusted her. Like you trusted me? Jimin's face twisted. Like Jungkook trusted you? The room felt like it was collapsing. I didn't mean for this to happen. You never do, Jimin said, turning away. But it always does, and we all pay for it. Then he left. And for the first time since Osaka, Taehyung broke. He fell to the floor and screamed. Not a pretty cinematic cry. A raw, guttural sound like a soul tearing in two. The headlines were merciless. Number Jungkook Tae Kiss. Number BTS exposed. Number Osaka scandal. Army was divided, furious, devastated. Some called it brave, others called it betrayal. Old interviews were unearthed, scrutinized. Every laugh, every glance, every hug between them was dissected like evidence at a crime scene. Then came the sponsors. 2 brands pulled out of endorsement deals within 12 hours. Stock prices dropped. A Korean news anchor called it the unraveling of the most carefully crafted image in K-pop history. Hybe issued a vague statement. A private matter from the past, unintentionally made public. We ask for understanding and privacy. It did nothing to stop the tidal wave. Jungkook sat across from Bang Si-hyuk for the first time in months. Do you want to go solo? Bang asked, folding his hands on the table. I can arrange it. Clean cut. Control the narrative. We'll call it artistic growth. Give you a world tour. A new identity. Jungkook didn't speak. Bang leaned forward. Or you can fight for the group. But that means controlling Taehyung, silencing him, denying the video, taking a girl out for a fake date next week and smiling like nothing happened. Jungkook looked at him. You want me to lie? I want you to survive. And what about him? Bang shrugged. He's always been harder to control. Jungkook stood. I won't deny it. Then this group will die. Maybe it already has. He walked out. That night, Jungkook called Taehyung. He didn't know what he'd say. Or if he'd scream, or cry, or ask him to run away. Taehyung picked up on the 3rd ring. I'm sorry, he said. Are you? Jungkook whispered. A pause. I loved you. You leaked that video. I didn't mean to. You did. I know. Silence. Do you still love me? Jungkook asked. Taehyung didn't answer. And that was the real answer. Jungkook laughed once. Bitter. Hollow. Then I'll see you on stage. He hung up. October 15th, 2025. The final scheduled BTS group performance before indefinite hiatus. The lights dimmed. The arena was sold out. Fans screamed their names. The intro music began. 7 silhouettes walked to the center. Jungkook and Taehyung stood on opposite ends. The distance between them had never been greater. But every step, every lyric, every note was fire. Because if they were going down legendary. The stage was an inferno, not in pyrotechnics or flashing lights, but in unspoken truths, burning stares, and the kind of energy that wasn't rehearsed. Every step they took was a collision course, every harmony sung between clenched teeth and clenched hearts. 7 members. 1 final performance, and 2 of them carrying the weight of a world they broke with their own hands. The fans screamed louder than ever. But Jungkook didn't hear them. All he could hear was his own heart thundering inside his chest, and the sound of Taehyung's voice 2 mics away, singing the verse they used to share like a secret. They didn't look at each other once. Until the last note. When the lights dimmed and the crowd erupted, Jungkook turned like muscle memory and instinctively glanced at the spot beside him where Taehyung used to be. But Taehyung was already walking off stage. No bow. No final wave. Just gone. What the fuck was that? The dressing room door slammed behind Jimin, his expression twisted with rage as he ripped the in-ears from his head. You 2 didn't even try. You think this is a joke? You think we didn't see the way you avoided each other like the damn plague? Namjoon stood in the corner, arms crossed, silent but seething. Hoseok sat on the couch, head in his hands. Jungkook stood near the makeup mirror, unblinking. Taehyung leaned against the far wall, arms folded, eyes distant. You owe us an explanation, Jin said, his voice quiet but heavy with authority. Taehyung scoffed. No, we don't. The hell you don't, Yoongi snapped, which was rare enough to make everyone flinch. You dragged the whole group into your drama, your secrets, your goddamn romance. And now we're the ones getting hate. We're the ones getting our endorsements canceled. We're the ones... I never asked you to protect us, Taehyung cut in. You didn't have to, Jungkook said suddenly, voice sharp, eyes locking onto Taehyung's for the first time since the leak. We did it anyway, because we believed in you. Taehyung's lip curled. You believed in the version of me that fit the image, the good boy, the mystery, but not the real one. I believed in the version of you that wouldn't sell me out. The room went still. Jimin whispered, You gave her the footage? Taehyung didn't answer. Did you give her the footage, Taehyung? Jin repeated louder. She said she needed closure, Taehyung replied, voice dangerously calm. I didn't know she'd keep it. I didn't know she'd leak it years later to get back at me. Namjoon muttered, Jesus Christ. You were with her last month, Jungkook said. In Tokyo. I saw the photos. Taehyung looked at him. I was trying to feel nothing. You succeeded, Jungkook said coldly. You feel nothing. Taehyung stepped forward. Say that again? You feel nothing, Jungkook repeated, louder now. Not for me. Not for the group. Not for what we built. You burned it all to the fucking ground. Taehyung shoved him. Jungkook didn't stumble. He shoved him back harder. The room exploded into chaos. Jimin and Namjoon jumped between them, pushing Jungkook against the mirror while Jin grabbed Taehyung by the collar and dragged him toward the other end of the room. Get your shit together, Jin barked. We're still under contract for 2 more weeks. After that, you can kill each other for all I care. Hosek looked up from the couch, his voice eerily calm. Do you even want to fix this? Neither of them answered. The silence was different now. Not the quiet of unresolved feelings or buried guilt. This was silence laced with resignation, like both of them had given up hoping the other would say the right thing, or anything. They met again, 2 days later, in a private conference room at HYBE headquarters, legal teams on standby, PR reps pacing the hallway, just the two of them inside. Jungkook leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Taehyung stared at the table. Are we going to talk? Jungkook asked finally. There's nothing left to say. Bullshit, Jungkook said. You've been dying to say something. You just don't want to be the first one to say it. Taehyung looked up. Fine. I'll say it. I'm sorry. Jungkook blinked. I'm sorry I kissed you in Osaka, Taehyung continued. I'm sorry I kept it from everyone. I'm sorry I let someone into my life who used me to get to you. I'm sorry I ruined our friendship. I'm sorry you can't look at me anymore without remembering what we almost were. I'm sorry you hate me. Jungkook's throat tightened. I don't hate you, he said. Then why does it feel like you do? Because you broke my heart and walked away like it was nothing. Taehyung closed his eyes. I didn't know how to stay, he said, and you never asked me to. You didn't give me the chance. Taehyung reached into his coat pocket and slid something across the table. A bracelet. Black cord. Faded. The same one they both used to wear after that trip in 2019. I never threw it away, Taehyung said. Even after I stopped wearing it, I couldn't. Jungkook stared at it. He didn't pick it up. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then, do you love me? Jungkook asked. Taehyung nodded once. Still? Taehyung's voice cracked. Always. Jungkook looked away. Then it's not enough. Taehyung stood, walked to the door, paused. When you're ready, he said softly, you know where to find me. Then he was gone. Later that night, Jungkook found himself alone in the recording studio. Empty coffee cups, dim lighting. The piano's cover was open. He sat in front of it. His fingers hovered. Then began to play. A soft melody. Unfinished. Unresolved. But honest. Behind him, a soft creak. He didn't turn. He didn't have to. Taehyung's voice low, tired, echoed in the doorway. Play it again. Jungkook's hands trembled. And he did. The studio smelled like burnt espresso and old wood varnish. The kind of smell that lingered through years of music, silence, and everything in between. Jungkook didn't speak. He just kept playing, each note soft and uncertain, like stepping across cracked ice. Taehyung stood in the doorway, motionless, as if afraid the wrong breath would break the spell. You remember it? Jungkook asked without turning around. I never forgot it. The melody had no name. It was something they had composed together years ago during a sleepless week in Busan, between tour rehearsals and quiet midnight confessions. They never finished it. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe it was never meant to be finished. Why are you here? Jungkook's voice wasn't cold, but it wasn't warm either. Taehyung took a step inside. Then another. I thought we left it at not enough. Jungkook finally turned, his expression unreadable. We did. So why are you playing our song? Because I don't know how to forget you, Jungkook said quietly. And I'm trying. Taehyung swallowed. What if I don't want you to forget me? Jungkook stood, slowly. Then you should have fought for me, he said. You should have chosen me. You should have deleted that video. You should have told me about her. You should have told me you loved me before everything caught fire. I'm telling you now, Taehyung said, eyes locked on his. It's too late, Jungkook said. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Then why do you still look at me like that? The tension between them was unbearable. Words weren't enough. Silence wasn't either. I want to kiss you, Taehyung said suddenly, voice low, desperate. Not to fix things, not to confuse them. I just want to remember what it felt like, before all this. Jungkook's chest rose and fell, slowly, sharply. You don't get to kiss me just because you're hurting, he said. I'm not asking for permission. Then don't expect forgiveness. Taehyung stepped closer. Jungkook didn't move. They were inches apart now, breaths crashing, hearts sprinting. I hated you, Jungkook whispered. I hated me too, Taehyung replied. Their lips met. Not with softness, not with sweetness, but with the ache of everything that had gone unsaid. It was furious, messy, like tearing pages out of a book you love too much to read again. Jungkook pushed him away first. No more secrets, he said, voice trembling. None, Taehyung promised. I mean it, not one. Taehyung nodded. Then tell me, Jungkook demanded. Is there anything else I don't know? Taehyung paused. Too long. What? Jungkook said. Taehyung looked away. What? Taehyung hesitated. There's one more thing. Jungkook backed away like he'd been slapped. I knew it, he said, laughing bitterly. Of course there is. Of course you couldn't just let me have one moment of peace. It's not what you think. Then say it. Taehyung closed his eyes. She's pregnant. The silence that followed was deafening. Jungkook stared at him like he didn't understand the words, like they'd been spoken in another language, and maybe they had been because nothing made sense anymore. You what? She's pregnant, Taehyung said again, quietly now, and I don't know if it's mine. Jungkook let out a hollow sound, something between a laugh and a sob. You were still sleeping with her? I was trying to forget you. By fucking her. It didn't mean anything. It meant enough to create a human being. Taehyung stepped forward, pleading. It happened before all of this, before I even saw you again. Before the video. Before everything. But after you kissed me in Osaka, Jungkook said. Taehyung's silence was answer enough. Jungkook turned, gripping the edge of the piano, knuckles white. Why are you telling me this now? He asked. Because you said no more secrets. Jungkook faced him again, eyes glassy, jaw clenched. Then here's my truth, he said. I don't know if I can survive you twice. Taehyung looked like he'd been punched. I'm not asking for a second chance, he said. I'm asking for a place. Somewhere in your life. Even if it's not beside you. You were my life, Jungkook said, voice breaking. That's what you don't get. I didn't just love you. I built myself around you. Around what we were. Around what we could have been. I know, Taehyung whispered. And I destroyed it. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Then Jungkook stepped past him, toward the door. He paused at the frame. Do what you need to do, Taehyung. Be a father. Be a ghost. Be an idol. But don't come back here unless you're sure you can be honest, even with the parts of you that scare you. And then he walked out. By morning, the tabloids were already running new headlines. Taehyung expecting child? Source close to idol claims paternity in question. Jungkook seen leaving studio alone, fans concerned. Army was in meltdown. So was Hybe. So was Jungkook. And Taehyung? He stood in front of the mirror looking at himself, seeing a stranger. He pressed a hand to his chest. And didn't feel anything. Until he said Jungkook's name. Then the ache returned. Worse than before. Because some mistakes don't just break hearts. They ruin the people inside them. And this? This was only the beginning. There was blood on the bathroom tile. Not much. Just a smear along the edge of the porcelain sink, where Jungkook's hand had slipped after punching the mirror. He stared at his reflection, or what was left of it, fragmented across broken glass. The pieces didn't align. The man in the shards wasn't whole. He was someone who'd given everything to a dream and in return, had become a ghost of himself. The cut on his knuckle was shallow, but it stung like hell. He didn't care. Someone was banging on the door. Jungkook, open up. It was Jimin. Please, you're scaring me. Jungkook turned on the tap, watching water run red for a few seconds before turning clear. He didn't open the door. "I don't want to talk," he said. "You don't have to. Just let me in." Silence. Then the lock clicked. Jimin stepped inside carefully, eyes scanning the shattered mirror, the blood, the silence that hung like smoke. "Did you hit it because of the article?" he asked softly. Jungkook didn't respond. "I saw it this morning. Everyone has." Jungkook leaned back against the wall, sliding down until he was seated on the cold tile. "I loved him, you know," he said finally, voice hollow. "With everything I had. I thought if I just waited long enough, if I stayed silent, patient, loyal, he'd figure it out. That we were meant for something more than just backstage glances and late-night regrets." Jimin sat beside him. "But instead," Jungkook laughed bitterly, "he knocked someone else up." Jimin flinched. "He's not even sure it's his," he said. "That's what he told me." "That's not the point," Jungkook snapped, voice sharp. "The point is he let it happen. He let someone else carry the part of him I wanted most." They sat in silence for a while. Then Jimin asked, "Do you still love him?" Jungkook didn't answer right away. "Yes," he whispered. "And I hate him for it." The next morning, Taehyung was called into an emergency meeting at Hybe. The legal team was already there, along with PR execs, brand managers, and 2 lawyers from the Japanese firm who represented the woman now claiming she was pregnant with his child. He hadn't slept. He hadn't eaten. He couldn't even remember driving to the building. "You're not denying paternity," the lead lawyer said, his tone clipped. "You're not confirming it either. That leaves us in limbo." "She hasn't taken a test," Taehyung replied. "She won't let me near her." "She doesn't have to," the PR exec snapped. "She's controlling the narrative now. She's framing it like you abandoned her. And the fans are turning. You've seen the messages." He had. "I used to love you. Now I don't know who you are. I stood by you through everything. This is too far. You lied to all of us." Taehyung rubbed his temples, feeling a migraine forming behind his eyes. "Do you want to handle this privately or publicly?" someone asked. "Privately." "Then stay the hell off social media. I haven't posted in 3 weeks." "Exactly." There was a beat of silence. Then the Hybe CEO leaned forward, folding his hands. "You need to clean this up, Taehyung. Not just for you. For BTS. For what's left of it." "Is there anything left?" Taehyung asked quietly. The room fell silent. That afternoon, Yoongi found Jungkook alone in the rooftop garden. He didn't say anything at first. Just sat next to him on the wooden bench, the breeze tugging at his hoodie strings. "I'm not going to tell you how to feel," Yoongi said eventually. "Because I wouldn't want anyone doing that to me." Jungkook stared ahead. "But I will tell you this," Yoongi continued. "We've all made mistakes. We've all lied. You think I haven't hurt people? That I haven't done things I regret? I almost left the group after Wings. No one knows that but Namjoon." Jungkook turned to look at him, surprised. "Yeah," Yoongi nodded. "I was drowning. In myself. In the image. In the expectations. And I pushed everyone away." "What changed?" Jungkook asked. "Someone told me, you're allowed to be selfish. But only if you're brave enough to take responsibility for it." "Was it Namjoon?" "No." Yoongi smirked. "It was Taehyung." Jungkook went quiet. Yoongi stood. "Don't forgive him because the world wants you to. Do it because you do. Or don't. Just don't let this version of you become permanent. You're not him." 3 days later, the girl Aiko released a public statement. She admitted she didn't know who the father was. She admitted she'd used the footage of Taehyung and Jungkook to force Taehyung back into her life. She even admitted to leaking it herself. Taehyung's name trended for hours. So did apology accepted. But Jungkook didn't post anything. Didn't comment. Didn't even open his phone. He was in Busan, alone, staying in the same little house he'd rented years ago for a songwriting retreat. The piano was dusty. The air smelled like salt. At midnight, someone knocked on the door. He opened it without checking. Taehyung stood there, drenched from the rain, clutching a small plastic bag. "I brought ramen," he said. "And 2 beers. Jungkook stared at him. "I saw the apology," Taehyung said. "I didn't ask her to do it. But I'm glad she did." "I don't want ramen," Jungkook said. "I didn't come for ramen." They stood there in silence, rain dripping from the porch roof. "Why did you come?" Jungkook asked. Taehyung stepped forward. "Because I still love you," he said. "And I'm not asking you to love me back. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking to be where you are." Jungkook's throat tightened. "I hate you. I know. I don't trust you. I'll earn it. I can't do this again." "You won't have to." Another beat. Then Jungkook stepped aside. "Come in." Taehyung entered, and the door closed behind him. Rain slammed against the windows like fists. Outside, the waves crashed against the Busan coastline in fits of rage. Inside, the silence between Jungkook and Taehyung stretched long and bitter, broken only by the soft hiss of the kettle on the stove and the occasional creak of wood settling beneath them. The house was too quiet for this much history. Taehyung had barely taken off his soaked coat. Jungkook hadn't touched the ramen or the beer. He sat on the floor, cross-legged by the fireplace, watching the embers die slowly. Taehyung leaned against the kitchen counter, watching him with the same expression he'd worn in Osaka after the kiss, the kind that begged for something without knowing how to ask for it. "You could have called," Jungkook said finally. "You wouldn't have picked up. You don't know that." "I do," Jungkook scoffed, lips curling. "So what? You show up here hoping rain and nostalgia would be enough to fix everything?" "No," Taehyung said. "I showed up because I have nothing left to lose." "You still have your fans," Jungkook muttered. "Not all of them. That's more than me." Taehyung stepped forward. "You think this didn't destroy me too?" Jungkook stood up slowly, facing him now, eyes dark and sharp. "Don't you dare. Don't you dare make this about how you feel. You're not the victim here, Taehyung. I never said I was." "You didn't have to," Jungkook shouted, his voice shaking. "You let the world burn around us and then showed up at my door like we could go back. Like the broken mirror, the baby, the betrayal, none of it mattered. I never asked you to forget." "Then what the fuck do you want?" Taehyung's voice cracked. "I want you to remember the parts of us that weren't a lie." Jungkook's chest heaved. "Everything feels like a lie now." Taehyung walked toward him. Slowly, carefully. He stopped inches away, his voice low and trembling. "We were 17 when I realized I couldn't live without you. But I didn't know how to live with you either. I loved you in the wrong ways. At the wrong times. I let fear run my mouth. My actions. I betrayed myself long before I betrayed you." Jungkook looked away. "I'm not the same person anymore," Taehyung said. "And neither are you." "No," Jungkook whispered. "We're worse." A long silence. Then Jungkook said, "I'm scared to forgive you, because if I do, and you leave again, I won't survive it. I won't leave again." "You say that now. I mean it now." Jungkook turned back to the fire. "What happens to us, Taehyung? What do we do with all this pain? We carry it. Forever? No. Just until it stops feeling like punishment." Jungkook closed his eyes. His shoulders trembled. Then, barely audible, "Hold me." Taehyung didn't hesitate. He walked forward and wrapped his arms around Jungkook from behind, pressing his face into his shoulder, holding him like he was something fragile and holy and still worth saving. Jungkook leaned back into him, the dam inside finally breaking. Silent tears. Heavy breathing. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing left to say. Until morning, when the headlines exploded. Exclusive, Hybe Insider reveals BTS rift romance, jealousy, and a secret cover. Up. Jungkook's phone buzzed non-stop. The article was everywhere. Leaked documents, audio clips, text messages. One stood out, a screenshot of a message from an anonymous Hybe staffer. There was a cover-up in 2019. The company knew about the Taehyung incident in Osaka. They made them sign silence clauses. It was always about protecting the brand, not the people. Jungkook's fingers trembled. "They knew?" he whispered. Taehyung read over his shoulder. "Looks like it." Jungkook scrolled further. A voice memo. He played it. It was him. His own voice. "From Osaka. You said you forgave me. You liar." Taehyung's voice. Distorted. Shaken. "I didn't even know they recorded that," Jungkook said, horrified. "They bugged the rooms," Taehyung murmured. "For security. They were always listening." Jungkook turned to him, fury building. "They used us. We let them." "No," Jungkook said. "They lied. We bled. And now the world knows it wasn't just about fame. It was about survival." The door burst open. Namjoon, panting, pale, holding a phone in his hand. "You guys need to see this." He turned the screen. A live press conference. Bang Si-hyuk, standing at a podium, looking somber, flanked by legal advisors. "I would like to begin by addressing the recent leaks," he said into the mic. Taehyung stepped closer to the screen. Bang continued. "It is true that there were incidents in the past that involved two of our artists in a private, personal relationship. Hybe made the decision at the time to protect the privacy of those involved while maintaining the integrity of the brand. We now acknowledge that decision caused harm." Jungkook's stomach twisted. "Hybe will no longer deny or suppress the truth about the individuals behind BTS," Bang said. "Moving forward, We support each member's right to share their story, including Taehyung and Jungkook. The room was silent. Then Namjoon said, he just publicly outed you. Jungkook felt the air leave his lungs. They used our pain to save face, he said. To look merciful. To spin it like they were the victims. Taehyung didn't say anything. He was watching the screen, jaw tight, fists clenched. We're not puppets, Jungkook said. No, Taehyung replied. We never were. What now? Namjoon asked. Jungkook looked at him, then at Taehyung, then at the storm still raging outside. We tell the truth, he said. All of it. Taehyung nodded. Together. And somewhere, between fire and rain, love and ruin, they finally stopped surviving and started fighting back. It started with a tweet. No hashtags, no filter, no statement crafted by PR. Just one line, typed at 3:42 a.m. by Jungkook. If they're going to tell our story, we'll tell the truth ourselves. Tomorrow, live. And beneath it, a date, a time, a link. Within 10 minutes, the tweet had over 1.3 million likes. Army was in chaos. BTS's fandom forums were flooded with speculation. Was it a joke? A stunt? A hacking? The group had been under media siege for weeks. Was this the final collapse? HYBE's legal team called Jungkook's phone 37 times. He didn't answer. Instead, he and Taehyung sat side by side on the wooden floor of the Busan house, surrounded by flickering candles and the quiet hum of impending war. There was a camera propped on a tripod, a single microphone, no lighting crew, no management. Just two men who'd been ripped open and wanted the world to see the wounds. You sure about this? Taehyung asked, scrolling through the chaos on his phone. Jungkook nodded. I've been quiet for so long, I forgot what my own voice sounds like. Taehyung looked at him, his eyes unreadable. If we do this, there's no going back. There's nothing to go back to. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rehearsed. But when the live notification hit millions of phones around the globe, the screen filled with them, Taehyung and Jungkook side by side. No stage makeup, no lighting tricks, just them. Jungkook leaned forward. Hi. That alone set the chat on fire. Before we start, Taehyung said, turn off your expectations. This isn't fan service. It's not damage control. It's just us. Jungkook nodded. For years, we've been part of something beautiful. BTS isn't just music. It's memory, family, escape. I won't pretend otherwise. He paused. But behind that beauty, there was silence. And silence can be dangerous when it protects the wrong things. Taehyung looked down, fingers fidgeting. In 2019, something happened between us in Osaka. Jungkook didn't interrupt. We crossed a line, Taehyung continued. We were confused. Young, maybe reckless. But we weren't faking it. The feelings were real. Jungkook jumped in. After that night, the company found out. Someone on the staff leaked it. We were forced to sign confidentiality clauses. Told to bury it. To pretend it didn't happen. And we did. Taehyung added, we were told it would kill the group. Kill the brand. That you, the fans, would abandon us. And we believed them, Jungkook said. They looked at the camera. Neither smiled. I was in love with him, Jungkook said. And I was terrified of what that meant. For me, for him, for BTS. Taehyung's jaw clenched. I loved him too. But I didn't know how to fight for that love without breaking everything else. Jungkook turned to him, surprised. You never told me that. I'm telling you now. The chat exploded with crying emojis, disbelief, pure chaos. But love isn't always enough, Jungkook said. Especially when you're not allowed to have it. Taehyung looked straight into the lens. And when you start sacrificing truth for survival, eventually, you stop knowing who you are. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Jungkook spoke. There were years of pretending. Of smiling while resenting. Of watching each other from across rooms and pretending we were fine. And then, Taehyung added, we weren't. They recounted everything. The leak. The breakup. The girl. The child. The betrayal. The anger. But also the regret. The longing. The mistakes they never got to fix. Jungkook turned to Taehyung, something raw in his voice. Why her? Out of everyone? Taehyung hesitated. Because she didn't know me the way you did. And that made it easier to pretend I wasn't already ruined. Jungkook blinked. That's the most honest thing you've ever said. I'm tired of lying. So am I. Taehyung reached out. Not for the camera. Not for the fans. But for Jungkook's hand. He took it. Held it. And didn't let go. This might end everything. Jungkook whispered. Or start something else, Taehyung replied. Like what? I don't know. But at least it'll be real. They turned back to the camera. You can hate us, Taehyung said. You can leave, Jungkook added. But we won't pretend anymore, they said together. The live ended. No fanfare. No music. Just truth. The silence that followed online was eerie. ARMY didn't know how to react. Some cried. Some screamed betrayal. Some said it was the bravest thing they'd ever seen. The next day, Taehyung truth topped every trending list on Earth. HYBE issued a 3-line statement. We support our artists' freedom to speak their truth. We will not be commenting further. BTS will remain on indefinite hiatus. But something had shifted. A myth had broken. And beneath it, 2 boys. No longer boys. Finally free. Jungkook stood at the window that night, looking out at the waves again. Do you think they'll forgive us? Taehyung came up behind him, resting his chin on his shoulder. Does it matter? Jungkook exhaled. It should. Maybe. But I'd rather live with your truth than die in their fantasy. Jungkook turned to him. And for the first time in years, he smiled. Not for the cameras. Not for the world. But for himself. And for the man who stood beside him. Unhidden. Unforgiven. But undeniably real. The world had changed in less than 24 hours. The live broadcast broke the internet. Nearly 87 million viewers tuned in. More than half the fandom was shattered. The other half fighting wars in comment sections and fandom circles like soldiers picking sides in a civil war. BTS was no longer 7 men performing in harmony. They were divided fragments of a broken mirror, and Jungkook and Taehyung stood at the sharpest edge of it. They didn't return to Seoul right away. They stayed in Busan, where the air still smelled like salt instead of scandal, and where no one knocked on their door demanding statements, apologies, or their souls. But the peace was fragile, and Taehyung knew it wouldn't last. He sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands, fingers tangled in his hair, phone buzzing every 3 seconds with emails, death threats, interview requests, and a lawyer's reminder, the paternity results are in. He hadn't opened it. He couldn't. Across the room, Jungkook was reading something on his laptop, the glow of the screen illuminating the bags under his eyes, and the cut on his lip that hadn't fully healed from the last fight they never talk about anymore. You're quiet, Taehyung said, voice hoarse. Jungkook didn't look up. Are you angry? Silence. Jungkook's fingers stopped moving. No, he said. Taehyung stood, walked over, sat across from him. You're lying. I'm tired, Jungkook replied. I know that tone. You're folding into yourself again. You want me to yell? What good would that do? Jungkook snapped, finally lifting his eyes. You want to talk about feelings now that everything's burnt to ash? Taehyung didn't flinch. I want to know if you regret it. All of it? Jungkook asked. Osaka, the kiss, the cover-up, the press, the live, us? Yes. Jungkook leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. I regret everything except you, he said. Taehyung's throat closed. Jungkook continued, voice soft now. Even when I hated you, I still remembered the sound of your laugh when you're tired, or the way you hum while brushing your teeth. I remembered how you used to fall asleep in taxis and I'd pretend not to notice just so I could keep you near me longer. Taehyung blinked fast. But I also remembered, Jungkook said, how you lied. How you left me in the dark. How you stood next to me on stage like a stranger while sleeping with someone else behind closed doors. I remember what it felt like to realize I wasn't your first choice. You were always my first choice, Taehyung said, pain spilling into his voice. I just didn't know how to choose you without losing everything else. I was worth losing everything for, Jungkook whispered. Taehyung closed his eyes. I know. They sat in silence again. Then Jungkook asked, have you opened the results? Taehyung shook his head. Why? Because I'm scared. Of what? That it's not mine. Jungkook looked confused. Wouldn't that be a good thing? No, Taehyung whispered. Because that means I destroyed us for nothing. Jungkook watched him for a long time, then got up, walked over to the phone on the counter. Read it, he said, handing it to him. Taehyung hesitated. Jungkook didn't. He opened the email. Silence. Taehyung stared at the words for what felt like forever, then looked up. She lied. Jungkook didn't smile. She knew it wasn't mine before she went to the press. Taehyung's voice was shaking now. Rage, guilt, relief, everything, all at once. She used you, Jungkook said, but there was no satisfaction in his voice. She used us. Taehyung nodded, eyes glassy. I let her. You let everyone but me. Taehyung said nothing. Jungkook stepped back, gripping the edge of the sink. I want to forgive you, he said, but I don't know how to forget. You don't have to forget, Taehyung said quickly. Just remember this more. He stepped forward. Not to touch him, not to beg, but to speak. When I was 16, I didn't know what love was. When I was 20, I thought it was pain. But you, Jungkook, you were the first person who ever made me believe that love could be safe, that it could be worth everything. He breathed out. And I ran from that, because I didn't think I deserved it. Jungkook turned to him. You didn't, he said, voice steady. But you do now. Taehyung's eyes widened. I'm not who I was in Osaka, he said. I've grown. I know. Then what now? Jungkook didn't answer right away. He walked to the piano in the corner, sat down, started playing. The same melody from Busan. The unfinished one. This time, he sang. Just 2 lines. Then looked up. Finish it with me? Taehyung moved across the room like in a dream. Sat beside him. Sang the 3rd line. Then the 4th. By the time the chorus came, their voices had blended again like they always did. Different textures. Same rhythm. Seamless, despite everything that tore them apart. The song wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about survival. It was about what it meant to lose everything, including yourself, and still choose to show up. Together. Not perfect. Not innocent. But real. And maybe that was enough. The music didn't end, it simply faded. Like something too tired to continue. Taehyung and Jungkook sat side by side in front of the piano, their voices still echoing softly in the silence they left behind. They didn't look at each other. They didn't need to. The air between them was full of things they hadn't said, and things they had. No more pretending. No more biting their tongues. It was all out there now, bleeding, bruised, and breathing. You know, Jungkook finally said, staring at the keys, if you had told me 4 years ago that we'd end up here, in this mess, I would have laughed. Taehyung's laugh was quiet, bitter. 4 years ago, I still believed we were invincible. We weren't, Jungkook said. We just hadn't been tested yet. I think, part of me wanted to be tested, Taehyung admitted. I wanted to know if we were real, or just convenient. And now you know? Taehyung nodded. We were real. But not convenient, Jungkook added. No, Taehyung said. Not even a little bit. Jungkook finally turned to him, and his eyes were tired, but clear. Do you want this? Taehyung blinked. This? Us. Taehyung didn't answer right away. He didn't rush. Instead, he exhaled slowly, looked down at his hands, then back up again. I want us. But I don't want to keep hurting you in the process. Then maybe, Jungkook said, loving each other doesn't have to mean being with each other. Taehyung closed his eyes. That's the cruelest kind of love. Maybe it's the only kind we know how to give. There was no shouting. No sudden music swell or melodramatic storm outside. Just quiet, heavy and honest. Taehyung stood slowly and walked toward the window, staring out at the horizon. The sea was calm now. The storm had passed. But the sky was still gray. It's funny, he said. I thought if we ever made it to this point where everything was laid bare, it would feel like peace. And it doesn't? It feels like aftermath. Jungkook stood too, walking over beside him. Not touching. Just there. This doesn't have to be forever, he said softly. Just for now. Is that your way of saying goodbye? It's my way of saying I still need to find myself in the silence, without your voice in my head. Taehyung looked over at him. You were never just my voice. And you were never just a mistake, Jungkook replied. A long pause. I wanted to be your future, Taehyung said. Not just your past. You were both, Jungkook whispered. And I'll carry you. In every version of me that comes after. Taehyung reached out, hesitated, then gently touched Jungkook's cheek just once, like a bookmark in a story they could no longer write together. Then he smiled, though his eyes were wet. Forgive me, even if you don't understand me. Jungkook swallowed hard. Only if you do the same. Taehyung nodded. They didn't hug. They didn't kiss. They just existed. Two souls standing on the edge of a chapter ending, knowing the next one wouldn't have both of them in the same paragraph, but maybe, just maybe, on the same page. Taehyung left that night without another word. And Jungkook didn't stop him. He watched the car disappear down the road, lights fading like fireflies in the dark, and sat on the porch with a beer he didn't drink. The next morning, he flew back to Seoul. The media was still frothing. The fandom still on fire. HYBE still in shambles. BTS still silent. But something was different. He walked into the studio, past the security guards who no longer looked at him the same, and stepped into the vocal booth. He pulled out a worn piece of paper. Lyrics. Unfinished. The ones they'd started in Busan. The ones born from chaos and clarity alike. He pressed the intercom. I'm ready. The engineer looked through the glass. You want to run the guide vocal now? No, Jungkook said. This isn't a demo. He adjusted the mic. This is the record. He closed his eyes. And he sang. His voice didn't tremble. It didn't hesitate. It told the truth. Every note, every breath, was a confession. A surrender. A goodbye. And maybe a beginning too. When he stepped out of the booth an hour later, the room was dead silent. Even the producers were still. Namjoon stood in the doorway, arms crossed. I've never heard you sing like that before, he said quietly. Jungkook didn't smile. That's because I never had to mean it that much. Namjoon nodded once. You think you're ready to come back? Jungkook looked down at the floor, then up at the glass booth behind him. I think I'm ready to stop hiding. He walked past Namjoon, out into the hallway. And as he passed by the conference room where Taehyung once told him he was sorry, Jungkook paused, just for a second. Not to look back, but to remember. Then he kept walking. And the door closed gently behind him. Some stories don't get a perfect ending. But the truth? The truth is louder than silence. And love? Sometimes it survives in the echo.